Good evening. How is it only Tuesday? But let's time to a pin message today because we forgot. That's sorted. Ta-da! Sort that out a little bit. So, this is where we got to yesterday. And let's see what trouble we can get up to today. So, we need you three as the end of, and in fact you are technically the wrong way round, so let's sort you we do need something, so let's twist you. Twisty. Before we do that, actually, let's make you all a bit longer. So I stayed up because, much as I planned to do a shorter stream yesterday, I kind of didn't, because by the time I got off stream, it was kind of around 11 o'clock, and it took 2 hours for it all to upload. So once again, I didn't get to bed before 1 o'clock in the morning. So I really do need to set myself some form of, if still streaming at this time, you're going to have to realise how long it's going to take to upload afterwards. And despite doing all that, I then forgot to tell everybody. So I did that lunchtime today. Which clearly is not the plan. We should be doing it, so you can watch it while I'm asleep. Because that's the plan of it all. So, in case you aren't aware, I am a bit of a game player. Now, I'm not going to pretend I'm any good at it, but I enjoy a good bit of game playing sometimes. Now, I'm not into the fighty smashy kind of gameplay, because I properly suck at that. I'm much more into the might and magic style. And a really epically long time ago, a company set out to make a product called Pantheon. And Pantheon was going to replace a game, well, it was supposed to be the successor to a game I had played starting in like 2000, because I was marginally late to it, called EverQuest. And EverQuest holds a dear place in a lot of people's hearts. If nothing else, because it was one of the first MMOs. Now, it wasn't the first, but it was one of the kind of like original kind of places to be. And there were some things about EverQuest that were different to many of the others of the day. In that, much as it was kind of, let's call it a bit 1980s graphics, because obviously they wanted it to run on a wide range of kit, and at the time 33.3 modems were a luxury, right? So the quality of the graphics was distinctly lacking compared to today. But one thing it did teach us was how it's not about the graphics. If you actually think back to the 80s and the games that we all played, most of them didn't even have graphics. Why does this feel like 2 pins? Most of them, you know, things like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy didn't even have graphics. And yeah, they were cracking games that you spent far too many hours playing. Because you needed to get to the end, because, well, you did, right? Your mind told you that the end had to be reached because, well, it wasn't going to defeat you. And you had a lot of fun doing it. Now, obviously, with the invention of semi-plausible graphics, you know, it was not an unrealistic thing that the world kind of went, hey, that's actually quite a cool idea, we want a bit of that. So, the 3D graphics card was born, and Voodoo was kind of it, pretty much, back in the day. If you didn't have a Voodoo card, you weren't it. And it was a secondary graphics card at that. But we all had a load of fun. And with EverQuest, it was not an easy game. It was certainly not the pick it up, do it for 5 minutes and log off because you were doing it while, I don't know, the equivalent of sitting in your doctor's waiting room. This was not a thing. What was a thing? Why does this never feel like it adds up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but we've got a chapter. So, but we picked one up the other end. That's right. And you put a lot of hard work into EverQuest, and there were lots of classes, there were lots of races, and some of them were evil, so were instantly killable by some of the good towns. So if you were out of food and water, which you did need, you couldn't just go and buy some, even if you had the money. And as you leveled up, you were poor. There was just no other way about it. You were poor. If you got to level 10 and you had a full set of ragged cloth armour and even half your spells, you were living the life of Elon Musk of today, right? You were a rich individual. And it was a tough game, but because it was tough, because you had to plan what you were going to do, you couldn't just kind of log in, bash a couple of things, gain 3 levels, and have the world handed to you on a plate. You appreciated them for it. And the fact that some of the graphics really were quite rough, shall we call it, was by the way. I mean, to give you an idea, Blades of Grass were 2 2D, like, cardboard cutouts in a cross like this that didn't rotate as you walked around them. They went with you. So whatever way you looked, they were the same. This was kind of how it all worked out. That's right. It's an odd message on the phone. So we all kind of... So for many years, I played EverQuest and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't remember the name of it, but I think I kind of started to get a little bit frustrated with it. Not Gates of Discord, it was the one after that. And Daylight, who were now owned it, because it had gone through a couple of owners by that point, it being Varant, Sony, and now it was Daylight. And Daylight were bringing out, we'll call them expansions, because that's what they called them. Come on, dog. Just get your butt out of the way. Like twice a year. The problem was, there wasn't really a lot in it. There'd be a handful of zones, like 4 or 5 zones, and You know, a few spells, a few objects, maybe a level boost. But the truth of the matter was that it kind of, paying 30, 40 quid a time was getting a little bit on top of your sub, right? Because you had to pay a subscription fee as well. And around that time, I was feeling a little bit broke. So I cancelled my subscription because, well, I couldn't really afford it. And I got my confirmation, you have cancelled your, you know, your renewal, blah, 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 and I didn't think too much of it. I'd slowed down playing a bit because work had me in its grips and you know, many other things. So imagine the look on my face one morning when my bank, you know, I get a message, you know, I look in my credit card and it's kind of 600 odd quid down. And I'm like, what the fuck? Turned out they'd taken my subscription, at least 2 of them. Anyway, now at the time I actually had 4 accounts, so I suppose I should be grateful it was only 2. But they'd taken it, despite the email confirmations saying that it had been cancelled. So I wrote to them and said, raised a ticket, and it was like, hello, I've got confirmation emails here, they are, that you weren't going to renew my subscription, but you did. I want my money back. No refunds. I'm sorry, but you promised you weren't going to take it, and you've taken my money. I need it back. No refunds. So I took it up with my credit card company, as you probably would, because, you know, it's a sizable amount of money. And they took a look at the confirmation of cancellation. They took a look at the, oh, well, never mind, no refunds messages, and went, oh, well, that's a bit mean. I didn't do an ad last time. Bollocks. And refunded my money. I went to log in to check and, you know, kind of almost obliterate any mention of my cards and stuff from my account. You've been banned for fraud. And so I contacted them and they went, yeah, you took your money back. I said, yeah, because you promised me you weren't going to take it and you took it anyway. Yeah, but that's fraud. Well, yeah, on your behalf, but not on mine. Yeah, I lost getting on for nearly, I think it was probably 18 years worth of play because they didn't honour their own system and took my money anyway and then declared me as fraudulently claiming back my money. When I say I logged in, you can log in on the website, not into the game. So I hadn't even logged into the game. So it's not like I logged into the game and they can claim, well, you used it. No. No. So and my love for EverQuest died on that day because I was not starting again. I mean, I had 4 accounts worth of characters, right? Some of them properly high level and many of them not. And I liked EverQuest, but you can't treat people like that. You can't just scam them out of their money and kind of laugh at them for doing it, right? It's just kind of rude. And so I went off EverQuest. 2, 3, 4. And ever since then, I've been a little bit cast adrift because it was a great thing to do in my spare time. I got a lot of relaxation from it. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of death and a lot of swearing and a lot of cursing because you lost all your shit and you had to go back and get it. And depending on where it was, that was not always as easy as it sounds. Because if you worked your way into something by killing your way in, but now you're naked and you have nothing to hit them with kind of thing, that's a little bit more difficult. And so I signed up for, over the years, I've signed up for a few kind of, let's call them potential replacements for EverQuest. And they've all been missing the mark. I enjoyed for many months a game called Shroud of the Avatar. And in fact, as part of their... because they kind of they kick-started it and then used to do kind of like telethon things where you could buy things to raise money and it would help keep the game going. But it really felt like, and I know it was not deliberate, so I'm not that stupid, but almost from the day that I first heard of it and signed up, they were heading for like point A. The moment I signed up, they veered really violently and went to point B. And point B was not what I wanted in the game. If I'd wanted that, I'd have done World of Warcraft, for example. Because I did do World of Warcraft for a bit. I did the beta and all. I did the alpha and the beta, so... But it was one of the guys who originally made EverQuest, who had left, I think, during some of the Sony Varant stroke Daylight takeover scenarios, also started a game called Pantheon. And because it was written by one of the kind of leading dudes of EverQuest, everyone had good faith in it. And so I backed it to a reasonably strong tune because, you know, by the time they announced that you could back it, they were at a point where they were regularly streaming, mainly devs, but, you know, they were regularly streaming gameplay. And they had a number of zones, they had, you know, classes, they had a whole range of things. And it looked pretty cool. So, when I backed, they'd been playing what looked to be a really, you know, I won't say finished game, but a playable state game. So it didn't seem that it would be too far away. And once again, almost immediately, it kind of went a bit quiet. Now, it didn't help that the core dude died. I don't think it was quite as quick as when I paid for it, but it was not long later that he died. And the moment he died, it was almost like all the people in the country went, oh, thank fuck for that, we didn't want to do that, and started again. Well, they didn't start again. Well, they obviously they kept going for a bit, and then, what must be a couple of years ago now, made the announcement that the direction they'd been going was not viable, and that they were changing the graphics. Now, as someone who dabbles in game making, if I needed to change the graphics, I can import a model, slap it on, and chances are, give or take a bit, you know, that's the job done. So if someone says to you, I'm changing the graphics, okay, maybe you're changing from, say, a semi-photorealistic look to a more cartoony look. So you need to redo quite a bit of stuff. But the code behind it should be there. So, and then there was literally, well, I didn't know that they'd said this because I didn't get any of the emails, right? But last Christmas, or just before last Christmas, I got an email. Hello, would you like to come and do one of our playtests? Playtest? Holy crap, it's still alive. I thought they'd died and run off with all the money. I have never been more disappointed in my life when I logged in something. Now, as I said, I've dabbled with gameplay. I made a one scene, very small scene, but I made a one scene, arguably, I won't say MMO, but a multiplayer online game. Well, it wasn't really so much of a game, but principles. I made a multiplayer thing in a day. Now, if I had graphic designers and wasn't a complete imbecile at any form of graphics, I could have tightened that up, made it bigger. It wouldn't have taken long. I've got a thing for Unity called Gaia, which kind of you kind of go, here's a stamp. I want an island with a lake in the middle. Clonk, and one appears, right, and it will put foliage and buildings, and so and you almost click a button and it kind of goes, ta-da, done, right? So if I'd done that, thrown a few models in, what I logged into kind of this time last year looked like something I'd made in a week. Down to the bugs, the stupidity, it looked like a couple of interns had had a month, and that's what they came up with. And it was shocking for what must have been 12 years of development, give or take a bit. Now, yes, they said they restarted the graphics, but as I said, really? But surely the logic, the ideas, the code, you wouldn't chuck it all in the bin. Well, maybe they had, but then that seems even more stupid. Around the same time, I discovered a group called Monsters and Memories. Now, Monsters and Memories is led by a guy who worked on EverQuest. I won't claim he wrote it. If he wishes to claim that, I don't think he ever claims he wrote it, but he was part of some of the later design, but he certainly worked on it for a reasonably long time. And he is leading a group of people who, in their spare time, are writing a game that has very much some EverQuest, kind of feel to it. But it's definitely not EverQuest. It's very different to EverQuest. To be fair, so's Pantheon. Pantheon does not feel EverQuesty in any shape or form, actually. But from what I could tell, this time last year, they'd been doing this for a couple of years in their spare time. So obviously, it's not a full-time job, whereas I'd like to point out the Pantheon lot are a full-time design career. Their game, on playtest, had way more than Pantheon did for all that money and all that effort, right? And 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, there were a lot of frustrations. Like any new game, you didn't know where anything was, and most things didn't actually... You couldn't ask the guard where half of it was, or the guards didn't understand what you were asking, and there were a lot of winding up, because it would say, when you start in Pantheon even, or EverQuest, especially these days, you start standing in your guild. You start pretty much standing in front of the dude you need to give a note to say, hello, I've come for training. Not in Monsters and Memories. In Monsters and Memories, you wake up at the city gates. And it says, go and see your guild. Okay, where is that? You can't say to the guard, where's the mage guild, because it kind of looks at you going, I got no idea. Who are you? Right? In fact, I think they just ignore you. It is a challenge. Now, there's nothing wrong with a challenge. Challenges are good. No one's going to pretend that a challenge isn't a good thing. But there's challenges, and there are challenges. And some of the things were a little bit harsh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, as an example, as part of the shaming quest, you have to go round the city looking for specific things. You're not really told what the things are, and you're not told where to go and look for them. Now, the city is huge. It would be a bit like, I've stuck some stickers on a wall in London, go and find them. that's a lot of walls and a lot of roads. And okay, it's not that big, but when you're new, it feels that big. Now, it's certainly quite a large area. It takes time to run from one side to the other. And in fact, there's no easy route to run from one side to the other. It's not like there's a straight path down the middle, cutting it in half with, like the high street. Since then, they've added signposts, which are incredibly helpful, which kind of point out that the harbour's this way. That you've got the sun to tell you east and west. You've got kind of like a few helpful pointers. Now, it's not labelled to hell and back, so you don't have every building has a signpost. Every signpost has a list of buildings further down it. Right? It's not quite that stupid. But it does give you things like cast, it tells you the cast guild, but also one of the advantages of the caster area is that it's really tall and it glows in the dark, so you can't miss it. Now, obviously, as I said, it's very EverQuest-esque in that it is not an easy game. It's not designed for you to log in, spend 10 minutes and log out again. But that's not a problem, because, I used to waste, as many of God's hours that I could stay awake for in EverQuest, so I have no problem with wasting hours in a game. Monsters and Memories has come on quite a lot in the last year. So, we are a year on. And Pantheon has just gone into early access. As far as I can tell, I've logged into it, made some new characters. They finally have a couple more races in it. Oh, because last year you only had humans and a handful of classes. Now you've got a few more classes, and they've got a few more spells. There is just something about it that feels cheap. That's kind of where the first word that my brain comes up with. It feels cheap. It still feels like it originated from the interns. It has moved on. I'm not going to say that it hasn't, because as I say, it's now got, more models. But it's got more models. It hasn't necessarily vastly improved. There are great areas in the newbie area that are masked off, where all the nodes that you need to do some of the quests spawn. So it gets to a point where everyone's had all the good nodes, because, well, you all start and basically it tells you to get some of everything. So everyone loots everything, and if you actually wanted to do crafting, if you wanted to actually make something, you need more of them. And well, now they're stuck out of reach. Congratulations. That's really helpful. And it just... I spent some time in it after work today. That's why I'm talking about it. And yes, they've now added more stuff for some of the other classes that they hadn't done. I've been able to play randomly throughout the year, and I'm just not interested. I just haven't. I logged in today, and yes, I could make an ogre. Yes, I could make a dwarf. I could make like some hell thing. It's not a halfling, but it was more of a demon-y style. I can't remember what they called it. Probably something I can't pronounce. But they'd made something, they'd got this kind of random class of kind of evil-looking stuff. Fine. Halflings and elves. Those are the only races in. There's no real difference. You start with slightly different stats. So if you're ogre, you start with slightly more strength and stamina, but the truth of it is they all start in exactly the same place, doing exactly the same thing. That's true with Monsters and Memories, but they've got a lot of races in and are planning a lot more. And there are lots of things as you walk around, you can see there is spots for more. So you'll walk past the wagoneering trainer. He doesn't actually teach you at the moment, but there's a wagoneering trainer. There's a cartography trainer. There's trainers for like 60 fripping different things. Okay, maybe not 60, but there's a lot, right? There is a lot of choices. Whereas Pantheon is stuck with the usual kind of tailoring, blacksmithing, cooking. I should have 5 and I've got 4. What did you do? Scared the crap out of yourself. Hmm? What did you do? I think I chucked 2 pairs here. I think I need you. Oh, out. Knocked something. Octopippo, are you there? I have a question for you if you are there and awake and in the mood, obviously. Anyway, back to the story of the RPGs, in case, as Octopippo is possibly asleep. So, Monsters Memories is still being worked on, absolutely, by people who are not taking money, right? They have not taken a bean, they don't want a bean, they actively refuse your money. And every time we've played, you can see considerable change. Having logged in today, yes, they've added a couple of models to Pantheon, but it doesn't feel like a lot else has changed. Now, I'm sure there has been other changes, and I am aware that, you know, they've replaced the bank building with a different building, because, well, now it's this kind of big stone thing rather than a wooden building. They've dressed a couple of models. They've changed some of the quests. But these are all arguably quite minor things. And there are still nodes you can't reach. There are still... And it just feels that it hasn't really moved a lot in a year for something that took a lot of money from a lot of people. It just doesn't feel like it's gone anywhere. Whereas I imagine the next time we play Monsters and Memories, quite a lot will have changed. And yes, there'll be a lot, you know, there'll be quite a lot that hasn't changed. But there is a lot more. There are more zones. There's dungeons. There's stuff to do, right? And I think the guy who's running it said something like, you can actually get to level 60 without leaving that first zone. Not quite sure how, but I'm not a master, and, well, they should know their own game. But realistically, you know, they have... but I think one of the key differences is that a game that is being written by people who are not taking your money are streaks and bounds ahead of a company that has taken your money. And sure, Monsters and Memories is not going to be suitable for everybody. I played Brighter Shores this week, which came out. That's not going to be a me game, that's for sure. I mean, I don't hate it, but it reminds me a bit of Farmville. Now, it's not Farmville, and it's not like this, so I don't know quite why my brain thinks that is the best example. But I only ever played Farmville a bit. But in Farmville, for those who haven't played it, you start off with an amount of energy, and you go off and you do a few things, and then your energy gets refreshed when you get to when you gain a level. Well, obviously, to start with, you gain levels quite quickly, so it refreshes your energy, and you get to keep playing the game. However, once you get a bit further on, takes a long time to get to a level, and you've only got 6 bits of energy, which means you can only do 6 moves before you either pay up for energy and part with physical cash to progress, or you stop playing the game. Well, surely the purpose is to keep you playing the game, not for you to kind of be ditching it going, oh, well, maybe I can, finish building that barn tomorrow. It's... And you only get 1 energy back an hour or something. And it is... So you have to put it down for 6 hours. Then you can do some more, and then, wait 6 more hours, and then... I'm sorry, but... Fuck off. If I've got to wait 6 hours between doing 6 moves of something, it's just not going to happen. After 6 hours, I'm going to delete it, right? It's just not a me thing. And I recognise it's not a me thing, and I recognise that it's been highly successful for other people. But it's not a me thing. And for some reason, Pantheon feels a bit like Farmville. In that well, sorry, Bright Shores feels a bit like Farmville, in that you wake up, you get told to speak to the dude outside, so you speak to the dude outside. He says, here's a sword, go and see this dude. This dude says, go and do this, you go and do that. Right, go here, see this, speak to this person, so you go and speak to this person. A couple of people later, there's, enemy at the gates, go and defend the gates. So there you are, you've basically just about managed to work out how you hold a sword in your hand. And you get sent down to the gates where you fight off some goblin thing. No, actually, you get down to the docks or something, and there's some level 1 goblins or something, and that's fine. Once the goblins have gone, you get told, right, go back to the barracks, and we'll discuss. So you get back, and he goes, right, you should learn the bow. Go and speak to this dude over there. And dude over there goes, yeah, not till you're level 15. Okay. But the goblins have gone. Well, what do I fight now? And everywhere you go, things are like level 18, 30. And I'm not touching that. They only have to breathe near me and I'm dead, right? And it's not a bad point. That what they've done is you have levels of things. So this has always been true. Most MMOs, you have levels of things. So you would have a tailoring level, you would have a fighting level, a cooking level, a sword level, a bow level, an attack level, a defense level. But generally you have a level for your character, and this is the core aspect that you need to worry about. So if you see a level 4 goblin and you're level 4, it's going to be roughly an even match. Unless, of course, you pick up a weapon you've never used before, in which case it's probably got a bit more of the upper hand. But you could still catch a lucky break. Not in this game. No. Oh, make a 10% healing potion. Excellent. I'm sorry. 10%, that's not 10% of my health that just healed. So you're fighting something, you quaff one of your potions, and you've got like 120 points of fighting ability. I'm not going to say health, because it's not health, but it kind of is. You quaff it, it might go up 5 points. It's not 10%. 10% of 120 is not 5. So, of course, when the thing's hitting you for like 12, it doesn't go very far. Oh, and you can only do it like once every 30 seconds. So, it really is a little bit. And then it says things like, oh, this is broken. You need to go downstream to get it. Okay, I can see which direction the stream goes in. But you can't follow the stream. You have to go round all the other bits to find where the stream pops up. And I went everywhere and there was no sign of it. Had to gain 2 more levels before the thing popped up. Oh, I haven't got time for that. Oh, I'm not in the mood for that. On the other hand, I am finding myself distinctly in the mood for cross-stitch and not being mauled. Suppose. Yes. Hello. Thank you. Thank you, Rory. Yes, I love you too. I do. I do love you, Rory. I do. But so, you may recall yesterday, I had problems with Rory feeling a little bit clingy, and I promised him that he could have as much hugs as he liked after the stream. So but as predicted, the moment I stopped the stream, he buggered off and didn't want them. And here we are again. Now don't lick the pin pot. Don't need that going flying. No. The food man brought you food? He did. Oh, here's an annoying thing. Remember I said I bought some DVDs about lace making? Well, they're in the country. And according to various trackers, they are now at my local post depot and waiting on a customs fee. But they haven't told me the fee. Now, bear in mind, they are the local post. You would expect that would arrive quite quickly, because they had that Saturday. Today is Tuesday. I've still not had it. No. So, I've got the tracking number, so I went to the pay for a fee, entered my tracking number, and it goes, oh no, there's no fee for that. Well, the other page says there is. So I can't pay for it and have it turn up and not get the stupid little piece of cardboard through my door. Because, you know, can't possibly be a fish in here. But how long is it before I'm supposed to get this stupid thing through the door? Because, well, if you've had it since like 8 o'clock on Saturday, I'd have expected to see it Monday. Piece of paper, that is. So I don't know. I'm a bit annoyed, because it's like, well, what can I do if it never comes? I don't want it sent back. Not after all this time. And I don't get a lot of post, and so Mr. Post, and when he does, Mr. Postie tends to put it at my door, ding dong, and run away. So I don't even get to ask him a question next time he comes, kind of thing. If it doesn't come tomorrow, I'm going to have to try and sort something out, because, you know, I know the tracking number, I know that it needs a customs fee, although I'm kind of surprised. I didn't think it would, but okay, whatever, you know. If it needs one, it needs one. But your stupid system, one part tells me it's got customs fee and it's, you know, waiting for me to pay for it, and the other half says there ain't no custom fee. Well, make your minds up. I'm only human. So never mind. But it would be nice, because it should be quite interesting to watch. Something to do. So yes, as I was saying, I've kind of gotten a bit into doing this cross-stitch malarkey in the time it takes to do my video uploads. Never really done cross-stitch before, but let me show you this. We are stonking our way through the world's tiniest little scrap of nothing. Yeah, I wouldn't say enjoy, but it is kind of, it's a bit like doing this, in that there is frustrations, and I'm not going to pretend that there isn't. There is definitely frustrations, as we all know. Just checking. But the hardest part for me is because it's 25 count, so the stitches are infinitely small. The hardest part for me is the point at which you sit there going, so I've got to do one, miss one, do one, do one, miss one, do one, okay? And then when you look back, because it's lilac on a kind of off-white coloured thing, it's also like it's duochrome. It's also like it's kind of duochrome in the sense that when you've got both directions, it's kind of purple, kind of purpley grey. But when it's only going the other way, so when it's only going the first direction, it's this excessively pale pink, and the two hues are not far enough apart. So because there is, now you wouldn't think there's so much of cotton, you really wouldn't, but because there is an element of fluff, sometimes it's not easy to tell if that stitch is a stitch or a bit of fluff or a bit of or not, or is that just like my imagination? So I have to put the pattern on the screen really, really big so I can take my glasses off and stare at it really closely to my face. But also still see the squares on the screen. Now I can't see them clearly, but I can see the colours, which is all that matters. But it is proving to be... I quite like watching it grow. I think that's the thing I always enjoy with crafting, is the watching it grow. And I did that at the end of it. The making portion is part of the arbitrary journey. It's like walking up a mountain. The walking up the mountain per se is not so much fun, because you're probably looking up the butthole of the guy in front of you. But it's the view from the top. It's the looking back and realising how far you've come. That is the enjoyable section of it. And so obviously I do find myself struggling a little with the journey on occasions. Much swearing can be heard, especially when I'd forgotten, because although I haven't done this for years, I know my dad used to do tapestry, which was basically the wool equivalent but a bit bigger. And one of the things that I'd totally forgotten about was that as you poke it down, go underneath, pull it out, find the next hole, poke it up, pull it out, poke it down, you seem to be constantly twisting it. Now, you're not consciously twisting it, and in fact, the more you think about it, you're not quite sure how you're twisting it, but you do. And kind of like every handful of stitches, you have to stop and let the twist out, otherwise it turns into a big fat gnarly knot. And once again, because of the... Excuse me, I've got the yawns again. What is wrong with me? Every time I stream, all I do is yawn at you. I do apologise. But because the thread is infinitely small, I mean, it's kind of like this, actually. I mean, it's thinner than the stuff I'm making this out of, but this is a higher twist. This would probably this kind of thread would be much better to work in than the actual thread, because this is very loosely twisted. I'm not going to be able to show you, but I mean, if I twist it a couple of times, actually I can, I think. Hang on. Let's pull it in, and let's move this around a bit so you can see. Find a dark bit there. Right, if I do this, you can already see the thing, and if I twist it like this, you can see it's almost untwisted, right? It's almost now completely untwisted. Whereas if you take this stuff and I untwist it, that's actually the wrong way around, it's that way. I untwist it, but it's still really twisted together, and so that gives it a lot of strength. And it also makes it really smooth, and because it's high twist, it will, you know, a few kind of backs and forths almost won't worry it. Oh, for fuck's sake, dog. They had a bit of a dog thing earlier, and they've liberally splattered some stuff around my floor that was not originally on the floor. No, little man. Yes, I know. You've been fed. Now, stop with the mauling. You don't actually want to be mauled. And Amy, just because I have moved does not mean I need you in my life either. Just lie down and settle down, please, dogs. We're not doing what we did yesterday, otherwise I will lose my shit at you. I will. You've got breath like a builder's butt. No! This is me starting to lose my patience with them. And I don't want to lose my patience with them. Dogs don't live long enough. But when you're home 24 hours a day and they ignore you, and then the moment you're busy, but you're not busy with us. Well, yeah, because you're not busy with me when, you know, we've had hugs today, we've been fed, you've had fun, we've played, we've done stuff, and I'm sorry, but it's kind of your choice. You went off and snoozed, so I let you. And now I'm wanting to do something. You want all in. Well, I don't. Not for now. Wait till upload time. You can have more hugs at upload time. Oh, dear. So yes, it is the joy of dog. Definitely and latterly the joy of dog. I heard that. Interesting. I'm trying to escape off the pins. Oh, I've got backache. I had backache. What was I doing earlier? Doing something earlier and I was getting backache. And I thought, that's not going to bode well for later. What was I doing? Amy, leave me alone. Come on. Some burning. I have at least a burning question for other lace makers, which is now when you get to the end of a cloth stitch, all the books and everything I've read said do 2 twists, so I do. But I was watching a video the other day, and they don't. They don't do any twists at the end. Now, because you go around the pin, and as long as you... Hi, Tench. Nice to have someone to talk to. How are you? What have you been up to? How's things? What's the weather like? Is it as crappy and boring as over here? Tell me everything. Do I sense sarcasm with that? Okay. They worked out recently, some boffins, as inevitably they do, that I think it's in the last 3 weeks the UK had 18 minutes of sunshine. Still sorting out phones, yeah. I had to explain to a co-worker earlier today something that I really thought they knew. Because of where I work, without giving much away, where I work, we run our own Windows domain because, well, we have to. We cannot run risk of non-UK people accessing it, so we have to have tight control. Therefore, we have control of it. My co-worker didn't understand this. Oh, that's quite nice. This time of year, having a bit of sunshine is really deceptive because you. Oh, I lost contact with chat briefly there, even though I don't know why. Because it now says welcome to the chat room. So yeah, I don't know. It's. I lost my brain cells. Someone wake me up and tell me where I was going with that, because my brain cells have just left the building. My brain does this a lot to me. Usually it quickly recovers and back to where it was thinking, but it's sitting there going, I have no idea. Don't look at me. I wasn't talking. Yes, that's it. And because we do that, there is a corporate level domain, which is fair enough, but no one on our site uses it. And somehow a guy who's been here like 10 odd years doesn't know this, even though he works in the department where we run the local domain, and it's kind of got the word UK in it, just without giving anything more away. It's got UK in it, so it's quite clearly us. And he knows the people who run it. He talks about the people who run it. And then and apparently he was trying to get on a server to help someone else out in another country, and it wasn't working. So the other country person got their password reset, but this guy didn't realise that that's tied to all the corporate crap. Because, well, it would be, wouldn't it? And you're kind of going, right, but it's a different thing. Oh, so it's AD? Yeah, but it's not ours. Isn't it? What do you mean, isn't it? Of course it's not. Have you not paid any attention to the screen you log into that says, this is your domain / username? And then when you're talking about this, it says this domain / a different username. No? Okay. You work in IT, right? Please don't. It was not one of his best moments, but I am aware that he is slightly stressed at the moment. But even so, I did not have the crayons or the patience to explain it to him. especially over text messages on my phone. So that was because I'd logged for the evening by this point. He was like, nothing's working. It's all saying incorrect username or password. Why, what did you do to it? Mine's alright. Never mind. Never mind. I shall let it go. Until tomorrow. Thanks for the brain assist, Tench. Clearly needed it. Exactly. I mean, one of the guys we work with, funnily enough, the guy who runs AD, one of his biggest complaints is that we are IT for IT. The number of things that people who work in IT have a problem with and clearly have zero understanding about, usually their own program, more to the point, is quite high. As an example, this is quite a few years ago, but there was a P1, oh my god, the end of the universe, life, death, doom, destruction. And it was nothing to do with me, so I was sitting at my desk doing my own thing, minding my own business, because I did not need to be involved. Literally, there could not have been less need for me. Well, this is the problem. Picture this then. So, the P1 was an externally facing product was down. Okay, you know, that can happen. Something's gone down. There can be a myriad of reasons as to why. And I was listening to the authentication guy moaning because he sat opposite me. And it wasn't his problem either, but he was on the call in case it was his problem. And it's kind of like, well, you should know if it's your problem because, well, if your shit's down, surely we would know about it. Anyway, because the application team aren't in our bit of IT because we're operations. And he was doing something and he kind of went to go to get a coffee or something. I said, what's the problem? He goes, oh, this application's down. I said, well, what error are they getting? And they said, oh, it says like error 500. Well, it's not down, is it? Because they were going, oh, maybe the web server must be down. The web server must be down. If you are getting an HTTP error 500, you made contact and it says, I do not understand the question. And I explained this. I got on the call and I explained this and it's like, oh, does it? Where do you think it gets these error codes from? Oh. Anyway, because part of the reason I joined the call was this guy said, well, and this is kind of where I'm at now, is that my job is to ensure that the server is live and well. If your shit ain't doing its bit, that's a you problem, right? And if it was today and that P1 was up, that would be my response. You're making contact with my server. I do not need to log in and check that it's up because it clearly is up. You're getting a response from it. So, over to you. Anyway, I'm also not on call currently, so even better for that. But the only reason one of the main reasons I'd logged in, I'd asked for this guy for the phone number and the codes to join the call, was because he said the engineer in the middle of a P1 was going to walk his dog. I'm sorry, you're in the middle of a P1 and you're going to sod off for like 40 minutes while you walk your dog. It's not a P1 reaction, love. You either need to replace yourself with someone else or the dog will have to wait. Chuck it out in the garden, right? So I joined in. Turns out it wasn't the engineer, so it was fine. They couldn't get on the server. Okay, that I agree is a problem. But why couldn't they get on the server? Well, there's no firewall rules. Well, there were yesterday. We went through Highest, and basically someone had managed to delete all the firewall rules. And the reason the website wasn't working was that it made contact with the internal server to get some information, and because it couldn't, it threw an error 500. But it seems no one on the call realised that error 500 was a HTTP response from a web server. Because, of course, normally it goes website timed out, or website not responded, or connection refused. Those are TCP/IP errors. The HTTP 403 permission denied, or 303 pages moved, or it's all an HTTP error. There had to be a web server that you were speaking to get that back. Now, it might be a very primary, elementary part of an application web server, but it is what was serving you. So, exactly. It means you made it to the server and it went, I not got that shit. It is a real thing, right? And you're kind of going, what do you mean you don't know that? You've been running this for how long now? It's like, 6 years or something. And you don't know. And you know that something else is at fault. Now, it could be that the file system underneath is missing. It could be you renamed it. It could be, all manner of shit. But the server is up. The process is running. We've boiled down the issue of the day. And we see it an awful lot. I got a real hosing once after patching when they went to start some websites and it came up with the error, couldn't create log file. Couldn't find log file. And it would cite the config file, exactly where to find it, full path of it, and the line number, and the current contents of the file. So it would say in, this folder, this folder, this folder, this folder, this folder, some crap.conf, line 23, log file space, insert folder name, is missing. Right. And? Well, first of all, that's not where you're supposed to store your log files, so, your patching must have deleted it. Patching doesn't delete application folders, honey. Because we don't patch your app, so, no. Oh, because of course you don't restart your shit until it's patching day. So you've tidied up during the month, and then when it restarted, you hadn't moved the thing, so it went for a folder that you removed. Well, there you go. I got a hell of a shoeing for that, because they'd done it on a number of servers, and you're sitting there kind of going, doesn't make it a me problem. But I got a hell of a shoe-in for that. I got told off for not fixing them for them, even though we've got web guys whose job it is to do that. And I did actually say, well, it says on this line, this folder, that isn't where you should be storing your log files. Change it to somewhere you should. So that is the answer. Apparently this isn't because I didn't do it for them. I was refusing to help. It's not what I said. Sorry, not wishing to sound a bit like I'm splitting hairs here, but that's not what I said. I gave you an answer, but at the same time, it is not my job to run your web crap and decide for you. It is your job to run the web crap, and you should do that, because we pay you money. Yeah. Correct. Well done. See, even you are, I know, I'm no offence. Exactly. And you're sitting there going, and they do it all the time. We had another one more recently where, again, because they only reboot once a month when we patch, by the way, that's Thursday, for some of them, they come patching. Oh, well, it won't start. And it's 11 o'clock on a Sunday night, and we're all going, They don't know what error messages, they don't know what's working, they don't know what should be where. When presented, is this an important error? Because I've been bored, because at 11 o'clock at night I want it to go away, so I'm mooching through application log files that I find. And it says here, I can't connect to license server, can't get license for this. Is that why it's not working? It's not got a license? I mean, kind of sounds like a good reason to not work after all. You know, if it needs licensing and can't find it, that would be a good reason for it not to work. Oh, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Turned out, their certificate had expired. But what was even better was that 11 o'clock at night, I think it got nearer midnight and it had been a bit quiet, and it's kind of like, are you lot still out there? You know, am I sitting here on my own? And my boss kind of went, no, I'm still here. And someone else went, yeah, me too. And there was no one else there. They'd all logged off quietly in the background and just sodded off. And we were all sitting there because they'd raised it as P1 and then kind of gone, oh, I don't really know the answer to this. Didn't want to say anything and just logged off. And so we logged off. I went, fine, I declare it's bedtime then. And we all left. And the next morning it was like, oh yeah, it ran out of certificate. What do you mean they couldn't tell that? Because it comes up and says your certificate's invalid. He would have said that. I mean, seriously, I'm sorry. Well, why would we pay these people money? This is the kind of thing that I really do struggle with on a daily basis, is I don't mind that people don't know. I really don't. But when it's the same person who's been doing the same job for like 10 years and they don't know some of the most fundamental things about their own product that they support, and that's what they're paid by the business to do, and I do from having watched them, it feels like, you know, someone's not really the man for the job, you know? And it's not necessarily their fault, because, you know, like a lot of places, not everyone volunteered to do the job. But it's your job, mate. Whether you wanted it or not, it is currently your job. You kind of need to do it. You're paid money, you need to do it. So, yeah. It could get fun in the future, that's for sure. Rory's being silly boy. So yeah, but that's the kind of thing we deal with on a kind of like daily basis, is my shit's not working. Well, it's your shit, love. What do you mean, you know, what are you asking me for? And 9 times out of 10, the error message is reasonably clear, and you're kind of going, well, if I tell you, you think I'm being facetious. If I don't tell you, I'll get criticised for not helping. There is one product who don't like me for that very reason, because I don't know, they make a lot of simple mistakes. And so, for example, they were installing a server a while ago, and it says connection refused. Why isn't this working? Well, because it's the wrong server. Is it? Well, you're installing it. You should know which servers you're working with. I mean, but that's your old one, not the new set. Oh, is it? I said, yeah, because all the new ones have got a different name. And I think they take exception to the fact that I spot things that they don't, and they're tired of me quickly spotting the problem and making them look stupid, so they don't like me. It's kind of like, well, stop being stupid then. Oh, I've got an itchy ear. Hang on. It's always fun. There we go. No, that doesn't feel right either. Why is this not feeling right? Rory, I really do love you, but right here, right now, I don't. Okay? No. I hate you with all my soul right now. Yes, I do. Stop mauling me, my friend. That's true, I didn't hear back from any of them today. Oh well, whatever. Alright, actually I didn't hear back from them either. What a shame. I've got some servers to build and I can't build them because I don't have the information I need. And I can feel the imminent you've had your week now, so where are they? Well, 3 days ago I asked you a question. Because you didn't supply the build sheet, I asked you a question. And, well, without it, we have not proceeded. We are waiting on you. I'm sure I'll get into trouble for that as well. Never mind. Potentially you'll love this one. I got a message from Cyber. What is this server? It's not. We can't find it. Whose server is this? What does it do? I don't recognise that server name. Now, I'm not going to pretend I commit all of our servers to memory, right? But because we rebuilt most of our servers in 2020, there's kind of a scope of names that they got. And any ones we built more recently have got another scope of names. So you can kind of tell that if they're old or new, and these were some really old names. It's kind of like, I'm not convinced that that's not even, going back even further, and that they're not kind of like 10 years ago's names. And I kind of went, they're not mine, because they're not currently mine. I checked, I've got a server list, and well, they're not on it, so it's definitely not mine. No, they're not mine. A few minutes later, oh, they're mine. So you interrupted me kind of jumping up and down because you didn't know what this server was, and it's one of your own. And then they said, well, people should take them out. Well, did you tell them? Did you decon them, or did you just switch them off and destroy them? Because if you didn't tell the people who have to do the other bits, they're not going to know. Such is life. Reminds me, I must go and check what I've done with my pass. I think it's in my glove box. Or at least I hope it's in my glove box. So yes, I'm looking for a fellow lace maker to answer whether they do double twists at the end of their, or any twists at the end of their cloth stitch, just because it's bugging me that I've seen a video where they don't. Now I do know that there was a video where quite a lot of people say when you hang your first pair, so when you first start a square, you may notice I stick a pin in, wrap a pair of bobbins around it, do a bit of work, and then take the original pin out. This is called hanging a pair, right? And you hang the pair because you've got to give it somewhere to start from. And it often says to twist pairs of bobbins. But I'd already worked out that any twists that you do before a pin, so if I take any bit of string, let's use my bit of floss for a minute, if I stick a pin in my, if I do this, and I twist it a couple of times, so you can see, I know you can't tell very well I'm twisting it, and then I put another pin in, bonk, right? If I now take out that first pin, all the twists disappear. And so, from that point of view, wise woman said, unless you have two pairs of bobbins, in which case you're twisting them together, that makes some sense, there is no point in twisting the pairs on a support pin. And I'd already worked that one out, so I'd already skipped that one, because I am fairly observant. But the end of the row cloth stitch ones, the twist is there to kind of, and it does stay. So if you twist and then put the pin in, the twisting does stay. It makes a difference, right? It does. It makes this bump more prominent, which isn't always what you want, frankly. Hence the curiosity. There are a couple of other ways of reducing the bump, which is that when you do cloth stitch, you work all the way up a load of bobbins, and then, for sake of the argument, if this is your worker pair on the right, you put the thing in, and obviously this goes around the pin, which is why you end up with like the little gaps along here. But what you can do is you can also pin in one of these, which will give it a straighter line, which I quite like the idea of, but it's a bit late now because we've done, well, 1.5 squares. Well, 1 and 5/8 of a square. Ish. Comes to something when you're counting them in bits. Amy, darling, yes, I love you too. You just slobbed on my glasses, you annoying cow. Your ear poked into a camera shot briefly. Little one. Ads on the way, by the way. Sorry, guys. Amy, come on. Oh, you get. Come on, off you get. You've slobbed on my glasses, you cow. So yes, I'm kind of annoyed at the post office because they've got my DVDs kind of 2 miles up the road, but haven't told me how much I need to pay them, so they'll give me them. I might try and find a phone number to ring tomorrow. That'll be easier said than done. Because I kind of want those. I'm not actually sure whether this computer's got a CD drive. That sounds really stupid, But because CD drives these days aren't the big chunky things with great big massive doors on, they're often tiny little slits of nothing. And I look at the back end of my computer, not the front end. Don't think it's actually got a DVD player. I might actually have to fire up the TV and the DVD player to actually watch these DVDs. Or, even worse, buy a USB DVD player for it. Or watch it on my old computer. Which is a bit sad. But one of them's about finishing techniques, and I really would like to watch that. Ads. Annoying doggedy dogs. Oh. I know what we could do. We could get the pin pusher and make sure that all of those are down. And all of those, they look like they're down, so that's a good thing. And then we can steal some pins. So let's steal some pins, because we like stealing pins. Welcome back, everybody. I just decided to steal some pins because I could. Because we like looking at the done section. It makes us feel better. Because it makes it feel more done when you can see it. And then you can go, oh look, I screwed up there and there and there and there. So, pull out loads of pins. Also, the more pins in my pot, the easier it is to grab pins. So that's another good reason to do this. One thing I haven't done that we did before is that round back here there are lots of pins, because we did 3 rows of pins. to give it stability between the sections. But we can take them out, and we didn't. So, for example, like here, we could take these extra rows of pins out, and we didn't do that with some of these sections. I'm pretty confident. In fact, if I pull that back and pull out this pin, for example, pop there, you can see here we didn't pull out these pins, but they're under the big pile of bobbins at the moment. So, because it's between those two triangles. We did some of the earlier ones, but we didn't do the later ones. We left them because we are stupido. So, you can go back in here because we don't need you. So yes. Thanks for chatting with me, Tenchy Tench. I was feeling a bit lonely. It's hard when no one talks to you. I think it's one of those things is that it's kind of catch-22. When there's only a couple of people watching, they aren't so inclined to chat because, well, you know, unless they've got questions or, you know, they know me as a person, they're not so inclined to chat with me because they don't really know what to say or do. When there is too many people, there is too much chat going on and you can't keep track of it. But there is kind of a sweet point, I guess, of when there's enough people that there is a level of generic chatter that someone who comes along can feel like the stream's awake and alive and not, you know, kind of a pre-recorded video. But at the same time, isn't overwhelmed by the fact that, you know, like Asmongold's got 40,000 viewers and you can't keep up with chat. So, yeah. I think it would be nice if I had... I think my aim is to... It would. I mean, as I said, one of the other problems I've got is the fact that I do realise that, for example, we have a lot more triangles and squares to do. And as a result of a lot more triangles and squares to do, and the fact that they don't really change, it kind of is the same shit every time. Which does then lead me to consider doing something different in the middle. Or even making these the middle and doing something different on the outside. To be honest, more leaning to doing something different in the middle, such as making them purely of rose ground so they're plain in the middle. So it's 4 squares of really plain stuff in the middle, maybe with a small dot of something in the middle. You know, making literally like kind of one big square. So instead of having like this there, you'd have a big triangle here, and in the middle would be, say, rose ground, but it would just be little squares in the middle. So that the curtain's not too fussy and complicated. Might do that, might not. We'll think about that. I've got a while to think about it. Because it's only the middle 4 that I've got to worry about, after all. So I don't know. It is I'm a little concerned that it's not exactly the best spectator sport. But at the same time, I'd like people to feel, you know, if they're interested, to come along. But at the same time, I couldn't market cold water in a desert, so there's no way I'm going to be able to sales pitch it to anybody. So I don't know. I'd like to think that there are people. I'd like to think that people will come along and kind of... But the thing is I also know that something like this, sometimes you just want to watch, you don't want to talk, you want to watch. And so I don't want to discourage that, because you can learn a lot by watching. And I am no master, but you can still learn a lot by watching. So, but I think it's like golf to me. Oh, not again. I've got the yawns again. They'd gone away. But I think, it's got an element of golf to it, which is, unless you know the person or you're actually playing it yourself, it isn't really a spectator sport. So I have sympathy in people who don't want to watch because, well, they think it's boring. Well, because they're probably not wrong, So it's difficult. I can't imagine people watching every hour of me doing this. I had this earlier. How can I be so yawny? It's something about this time of evening. I assume it's because it gets dark so much earlier. My brain keeps going, oh, well, it must be bedtime now. No, brain, you've got about 3 or 4 hours before you're going to be doing that. But it's got the yawns, and I can't seem to stop them, and so I do apologise once again. But it's also not helping, I think, when I talk. I'm going to blame being marginally asthmatic, but I think that when I talk, because my body is not processing the oxygen quite the same, maybe it's not quite getting as much oxygen as it wants, and so it's making me yawn, thinking it must be tired, but it's not. There's a dog hair in that bit of cake I just drank. No, well. I bought a cheap but joyous thing earlier this week. I have what I lovingly refer to as my shit pile. Now, it's not literally shit. There are quite a few Amazon packets. There is... Generally, it's kind of cardboard packet. It is a collection of postage kind of things. There is a chair and a box and some other stuff underneath there. Table. It's quite a big shit pile. But it is not as bad as it looks, because of course, well, there is a chair and a loom and actually there's another set of tables, and it covers kind of quarter of the room. However, it's not very dense and it is kind of liberally piled. So if you could kind of like Geronimo and leap into it, if you were brave enough, you'd probably squish down an awful lot. But because it's just kind of chucked there, it's kind of grown somewhat out of control, shall we call it. And as a result of being somewhat out of control, I took the decision that, well, I probably really ought to do something about that. Now, I need to work up to doing something about that because, well, that's like housework and tidying and domesticated. But I bought off Amazon. The dog knocked it off earlier because the dog went counter surfing earlier, didn't you? We need that and those. There it is. I bought this. And this is the lazy man's dream, to be honest. It's kind of a mini circular saw. It's an electronic box cutter. Now, it's not just a box cutter. It can do fabric. So the idea will be is as part of my... Where did I put those? I had those moments ago. Oh, there it is. I bought, remember my heavy cloths? I bought more heavy cloth, and this stuff actually weighs. I mean, this must be over a kilo of cloth, and it's only 2 meters. They're that much heavier, the heavy cloths. And I need to chop them up and serge them, and or do at least something with the edges, because then they'll fray. And whatever I did with these is not ideal, because if you actually look at some of these, I kind of did a blanket stitch around the edge and it's puckered, but part of that is because it's made of like 3 atoms of nothing. So I am kind of in the process of needing to sort those out to get some heavier cloths, because, well, I'm not a dainty person, and so I want to do that. And so I've got that to do, and other things to do, and lots of things to do, and the enthusiasm of nothing at the moment. I mean, to be honest, if I could have got away with it, I probably wouldn't have streamed this evening. But I do want to get to the end. And so I persuaded my brain that but if we do some today, it'll be, we'll be a chunk closer and it'll be great. And brain kind of went, yeah, I agree with that. So hence it kind of got around to it. But other than that, it would easily have not done some today. If I wasn't streaming and kind of expecting to share with you guys, I probably wouldn't have bothered. And again, this is part of the reason why I'm doing this, is so that I, on days like today when there's no reason why I can't, but my brain's kind of going, oh, I'm really not in the mood, and then starts a week of not being in the mood, and then, a week turns into 2 weeks, turns into 3 weeks, and suddenly you're not doing it anymore, and it's, you haven't touched it for a month, and I don't want to do that because, well, there's too much of this to be doing that. And I'm trying to think, Out of all the crafty things I've done as an adult, I can think of 4 projects I haven't finished, and this is one of them, right? So, in my time, there are only 3 other projects that are not completed. 2 of them are at my old house in storage, so clearly they're not happening fast. And 1 is here, and I need to frog it. That's frankly how that is. The yarn wasn't as nice as I thought. Knitted up, it looks even bloody worse. And it's scratchy yarn. It's just not good. I don't know what the fuck I'll do with it. Make flipping woolly hats for the dogs or something, I don't know. It was going to be a jumper. And it was not going to be beige, more to the point. But well, it was a mottledy, reddy, browny kind of yarn, and it looked really pretty. And it does look really pretty as a ball of yarn. When it knits up, it looks like it's got skid marks on it. And it's just not it's not a pretty thing. And as I said, the yarn is way scratchier because, of course, when you buy online, you can't smush it first. And it is acrylic, so some acrylic yarns are as soft can be. I've got some acrylic yarns that make merino look harsh, right? That they are so incredibly soft, it is ridiculous. And then there's this stuff that feels like corrugated cardboard with sandpaper. It just was scratchy and it's just horrible. Clearly won't be buying that shit again. But it was a shame because it looks pretty as a ball of yarn. So we won't be doing that. Brain's kind of decided that cross stitch is a really good thing to do, which doesn't help with the whole getting on of this, because it goes, I could be doing some cross stitch. I want to do cross stitch. Yes, but cross stitch is for when we're not doing this. But we're not doing this now. Well, no, but we're about to, Brain. Yes, but we could do that instead. No, we're going to do this because we want to get on with this. And then when it uploads, you get to do a bit of cross stitch. Do I have to? I hate you. Yeah, that's what my brain's like at the moment. So, thanks, brain. I love my brain. Here's something else. Why is it? So, for example, if I don't finish this stream till 11, which is not going to happen, it's like 1, 2 in the morning before it finishes uploading, right? So then I go to bed really late, get up for work early, and I'm tired. If I stop kind of now, which is kind of what I'm going to do, and upload it, it'll probably be uploaded by 11 and I can go to bed. But what will happen is, at about 10:45, I'll just click on something, and then it'll be 1 o'clock in the morning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How does that happen? Where do those hours go? How does that happen like that? Why does that happen like that? Let's put this back down. Pick you down. Pop. And you go under there. Hold it down. You're a bit shorter than you were, but that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 isn't bad. We can do a stick for 4. So yes, we find ourselves determined to get a bit of an earlier night tonight because I've got the yawns again, and that's just incredibly rude. So I want to try and get an early night, and you've already escaped around the pin, haven't you? Let me put the other pin in. Right, let's push you up there because I need you out of the way. Alright, so time to take the photo. Can't have the photo. Here we go. Photo. I can't see because of the reflection of the light. Something like that should be good. Let's have a look. Normally we make a mistake about here, and I'm not seeing the mistake, so I might have got away with it this time. Anyway, it is that time. I'm going to quickly look up. Now, one thing I have discovered with this is because of the way I've got OBS set up, when I raid someone, if I raid someone, who have we got we can raid today? No one I know is doing anything unless you want to watch Final Fantasy or Asmongold or some ferrets. So I'm going to let you all go and do and find your own other things. Thank you for coming today. Thank you, Tench, for talking to me. It's made my day. For the lurkers amongst us, I have no problem with you lurking. But do say hi. It's nice to say hi. I shall see you all, hopefully. Thanks, Tenchy. See, this is why I like you coming. You always make me smile. That's okay. These things need to be done. But I'm going to go. There's no one to send you to that's doing interesting stuff, in my humble opinion, that I'm aware of. So I'm going to let you go and make your own decisions of other things to listen to and watch. And I will hopefully see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.